Live from the Irish Hills of southern Michigan, 70 miles west of Detroit, it's the 10th round of the PPG IndyCar World Series, the second jewel of auto racing's Triple Crown. Road Handler presents the Michigan 500. Michigan International Speedway. The crowd has now moved into position, everyone with a favorite spot to watch this magnificent run for 500 miles. Hello, I'm Paul Page, and this is really a critical race in the 1989 IndyCar season and the chase for the PPG World Championship, because we've just come off a series of 5 different road races. And of course that favors great road racing drivers like two-time Formula One champion Emerson Fittipaldi. And as a result of those runs, he is in fact the points leader at this moment. But now we come to 2 oval races, the first here on this super speedway. And now the oval experts come into play. Drivers like Rick Mears, who is second in the point standings and hoping for a very good result today. Now, this far, this has been one incredible racing season. It has been a season of contact and confrontation of different winners, and it has been rough and tumble. The chase for the PPG IndyCar World Championship began at Phoenix last April. Most experts looked to the Penske cars to dominate, as they did in 1988. Rick Mears and Danny Sullivan indeed had the front row. But the color of the season was soon made clear as Bobby Rahal and Bernard Jourdain tangled. Rick Mears, with a brilliant drive through the pack, took the win and the points lead. A week later, on the streets of Long Beach, California, the second generation Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. held the front row. In the closing laps, Little Al was chasing Mario Andretti, closing down, and then in turn 3, they touched, sending Mario off the line and out of the race. Little Al's car was damaged, but he was able to continue on and eventually score the win. The joy in Little Al's team was matched by Mario's anger. The 73rd Indianapolis 500 started with a frightening single-car crash. Kevin Cogan hit the wall 4 times, cut the car in half, and walked away. 2 laps from the finish, Emerson Fittipaldi was chasing Little Al for the win. The contact cost Al the win and $650,000 as Fittipaldi took $1 million and the Indy 500 title. A week later, at the Milwaukee Mile, Fittipaldi had the race all but won, but shook his fist at Bernard Jourdain and lost control. Rick Mears took his second win of the year. The points fight was now very tight indeed. Karts then moved to their first race on the streets of Detroit. Contact continued. In the start, Mario and Emerson Fittipaldi touched, sending Mario off of turn 1. Restarted, Mario fought his way up from last place, only to be confronted with Emo again. The season was definitely turning physical. Emo worked his way from the accident through the field and scored his second win of the year. At Portland, the racing got rougher. Little Al and Scott Pruitt. The same drivers once again. The race belonged to Emerson Fittipaldi. On the lakeshore at Cleveland, Mario and Michael Andretti miscued on a pit stop, running into each other. Emerson Fittipaldi cruised to his 3rd win in a row and a solid points lead. At the Meadowlands, the tight fighting and the contact continued. Bobby Rahal drove through this crash to challenge Emerson Fittipaldi. The 2 drivers fought closely, but rain ended the run early, and Rahal was the winner. Contact and confrontation carried on to Canada 2 weeks ago. Mario was trying to pass Teo Fabi and hit Roberto Guerrero's parked car. Toward the end of the race, Michael Andretti cut off Fittipaldi. This time, Michael was the winner of the confrontation and his first IndyCar win in 2 years. So far, there have been 5 different winners in a season that's been wheel to wheel and the roughest in memory. Question, of course, is will that roughness continue in the Michigan 500? Just a moment, we'll be back with a closer look at today's race and the start.
Right now to give the traditional command to start engines is the Secretary of Transportation, the Honorable Samuel Skinner. Mr. Secretary.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Fired up, ready to go now on the line today, over $800,000. The race is 500 miles. That's 250 times around the high banks of Michigan International. We'll be back.
Paul, at the last 500 miler, the Indianapolis 500, this team, captained by Emerson Fittipaldi, went to victory lane. And with the victory laurels, they grabbed something so elusive called momentum. They grabbed it away, and they've kept a tight grasp on it right to this race here, winning 3 other victories to go with the Indy 500. Now, the people that they grabbed it away from, momentum that is where Brian Hammonds is right now. Brian?
Jack, because the momentum began with Emerson Fittipaldi at Indianapolis, it ended with Al Unser Jr. in the third turn wall. Al was leading the points at Indianapolis. Since then, he has struggled. He is now a distant third. This is a critical race for the Gallus Racing Team as they try to get back that momentum for the stretch run of the kart season. Paul?
Thanks, Brian. The field is still a little stretched out, not yet moved into position. You look over the shoulder of Al Unser Jr. And this track here is 2 miles around. They'll have 250 laps.
The distinctive characteristic of the track, Paul, is that it is all banked. It's like a big, deep saucer, banked even on the straightaways and twice as much, twice as steeply, as Bobby said, on the turns.
It puts a tremendous stress on the car. Looking back now from the tail of Bobby Rahall's car back through the rest of this starting field, as now they begin to move into their alignment. There'll be rows of 3, and they should get that alignment as they come onto the backstretch. You see now the banking as Bobby Rahal comes off of the second turn and onto the backstretch.
In the last practice session, which was yesterday afternoon, the fastest car on the track was Rick Mears. You see him there on the yellow car on the left of the screen.
Rick Mears, definitely one of the cars to watch because of his absolute expertise on the ovals. And there we take a look at that marvelous front row. Emerson Fittipaldi, the inside car, number 20. Rick Mears, the number 4 car. And Teo Fabi in the March Porsche, the 8 car on the outside.
2 Penske cars. Penske sold the car to the Patrick team, and they got him beat for the pole today, Paul.
That certainly has been part of the story this year. Michael Andretti looks ahead a couple of rows to the front of the field as now the pace begins to pick up. They're in the north turn, the combination turn that is 3 and 4, but really one sweeping turn to the rest. Off of the final turn now, the green flag lies just ahead, and the starter says, no, I don't like that alignment. No start at all. As a matter of fact, there has been some criticism of ragged alignment on the starts this year, Bobby.
Well, what happened is that Bobby didn't feel that he got a fair start, a fair lineup, and he just lagged back, and if they were going to go for it, he was going to embarrass them, and the starter said, we're going to have them straight up and proper, or we don't go.
The winter has been unkind to this track, which used to be among the smoothest in the country. It is now quite rough.
Let's take a look. This is Michael Andretti's onboard camera as they come to the start. See, the rows ahead are in fairly good shape at that point, but as they come down, you see how far the green and white car pulls back.
Already you can see, Paul, that the second row was already ahead of Bobby. So it doesn't look like Bobby kept up quite as good as he should have.
A good judgment by Nick Finoro, the starter. They're in a little better alignment now. In fact, it's much tighter in the front of the field, though still a little straggled out at the back.
Now, Paul, it's another thing to remember. This is on their fuel. In other words, they're not getting additional fuel for this extra lap. So the guys make their own penalty here.
500 miles. The fuel is critical. It's allocated. They come toward the green again, and this time it comes out, and we're racing at the Michigan 500. Teo Fabi up to the high side, inches his way into the front. The question is, can he hold the line as Emerson Fittipaldi slides into second place, and Rick Mears falls backwards. But, Bobby, that may be part of the game plan.
Well, it certainly was. Teo just said he's not going to go for it earlier, and he went for it now. He came out in the lead. Emo's right behind him. The guy that surprises me is Rick. He normally is a super good starter.